Are you guys confused about what parts for a computer and what they do are? Or are you somebody who's just gotten tired of explaining it to your friends and just want a video that can explain it to everybody for you? This is the video for that. You're welcome. So you're trying to get into computers, you want to understand what you're looking at and what you need to get. We're just going to go through this very, very nice list that I have, and I'm going to try and dumb this down and make it so it's very simple for anybody to just kind of get in and understand what each of these parts are for and what they do. Before I get on though, don't forget to like the video if you liked the video and subscribe to the channel. So the first part you're going to have to worry about is the CPU. This is the central processing unit. It does all of the processes of the computer. It fetches the data, decodes it, and then executes it in a way so that the rest of the components can understand what it needs to do to execute said process. Kind of lost a whole chunk of my brain there just saying that. Speaking of which, the CPU is kind of like the brain of your computer. So if you think of it like that, and the rest of the computer parts being certain other body parts, it makes this significantly easier. For instance, the graphics card, which can be integrated into the CPU as an APU or as its own separate card. This is the difference between integrated graphics and discrete graphics out of a discrete graphics card, which is its own card, can be. This controls and renders visuals, as well as it can help make 3D models in 3D modelers, an Unreal, the graphics modeler. This is kind of like the imagination area of your brain. There's not really a better way of putting this at. It's just a separate section that is completely dedicated to creating visuals. Another name for GPUs would be the video card or graphics processing unit. Next we get to the motherboard. The motherboard is the nervous system of the computer. It is how all the components communicate to one another and helps integrate everything with each other. It also has integrated chipsets. Some of these higher end motherboards, for instance, will have better cooling for said chipsets and things like that. It all depends on what motherboard you get, and some motherboards don't always work with some CPUs, so you do need to keep an eye on that. There's a very helpful website. It's called PCPartPicker.com. If you put in the CPU you want to use and find the motherboard that you want to use, it just makes it so much easier to figure out what issues they're going to be and if it's possible to use these two together. Next up is RAM. RAM stands for Random Access Memory, or volatile memory is another word for this. Just think of RAM as memory in general, because that's all it really is. It stores data about most commonly used programs and processes. That way it can act on them. For instance, it's how Windows or Linux, depending on which one you go with, RAM is how the system operator is using to start up. When it starts up from the storage, and it uses RAM to enact all these processes and start all the programs that need started. Faster the RAM, faster the processes start. You also need more RAM storage in general. Windows recommendation is, I would say, 16 if you want to do any kind of gaming. If you want to do anything more than gaming, 32 is probably a good option. And I would keep the speed somewhere around 3200 megahertz, but we're getting a little bit more into advanced territory, which I'll cover later in a later video, so do get subscribed for that. RAM is also just most like your short-term memory, because it's for instant processes that a program needs that second. After that, it's storage. This can be an SSD or a normal hard drive. The SSDs are solid state drives, and hard drives are generally like optical drives. Like, I should have a picture right here that's showing what a hard drive looks like, and an SSD. Now, SSDs actually also have a secondary one called an NVMe SSD. They're really cool. They're kind of shaped like a RAM stick, but because they don't require wires and cords to connect to the rest of your computer, it makes cable management significantly easier. And as time is going on here, they are getting significantly cheaper. So there's almost not really a reason to go with an SSD that's with cord now, except for the fact that it's just even more cheap. Now, there are issues with all of these, and again, it just has to do with how computers are. Hard drives, they are not as fast as an SSD most of the time. An SSD is not as fast as an NVMe most of the time. NVMe is put right into the motherboard, while an SSD and a hard drive are connected through a cord to the motherboard. So you can understand why there's going to be a little bit of a speed difference there. They all just store data. They all do the exact same thing. They store all of the data. This is going to be your long-term memory if you were to compare this to something in a human. Next up is the power supply unit. This is a very simple thing here. It powers the computer. It gives all of the energy to the computer. Without this, the computer is dead. It will not work. Mind you, with most of these things, the computer will not work, but this is a very important one. This is most like the heart for the human. There are different ratings for each power supply. Honestly, I would try to stay mostly towards the silver, gold, and platinum. That's me. Generally with those, you get higher end components of the power supply, and that way it should last longer. Next up is the case. Now, cases generally aren't as important when you're building a computer. You do need to get a decent one. I would say, depending on what you're doing, anywhere from like $70 to $90 is pretty good. It varies. If you're going with a very compact case, right now, compact cases are expensive. I think I saw one go for $500. This is going to be pretty similar to the skin of the human body. It just holds everything together and organizes the components, as well as protects them from dust, gives it good airflow, as well as a little bit of protection against humidity and just wetness. There's got to be a better word there. I can't find it. It should protect it against most of that. Now, it can't do a perfect job, obviously, because it has to let air in, so there's holes, and dust is tiny, so it can't stop all of it. These are all the main and most important parts of a computer. Without one of these, you can't really have a computer. We'll get more into details about some of the other parts later in other videos. I just wanted to give you a very quick run through on all of the things that are in this. It's very important to know this for when you're looking at your stuff, to know what you're looking at. Because if you don't, you have no idea if you're buying something that you need or don't need, something that is unimportant or important. In this case, every part is important, but what also is important is how well they work. We'll get more into that later. For now, though, don't forget to like the video if you liked the video, and subscribe to the channel. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Over the next couple of weeks, I should have more videos with topics like this. For instance, in the next couple of videos, I will be doing a video on budget tiers for computers, as well as explaining a little more in depth what certain parts you need and what you need to look at when you're looking at certain parts computers. So I'm very happy to be starting this. I've been thinking about doing it for a while, and I finally got pushed over the edge a little bit. So I would love for you guys to leave comments down below for what you guys think about this, and also maybe leave a comment down below about what you guys think I should talk about. If there's something you're not understanding that well when it comes down to computers, I'm definitely more than willing to help you guys out, because it'll probably help out your friends that are a little more computer savvy than you as well. So again, comment down below. Have a good day, guys.